Hello students, parents, and guardians. This is Scott King, principal at Deshler Middle School. I'm making this video to share with everyone to remind everybody of our policies and some of the things that go on at Deshler Middle School. This is the slideshow that I use for 6th grade and new student orientation, and I think it's good that for everybody to view this at the beginning of the year to become reacquainted with rules and policies and things that we do at Deshler Middle School. So first I want to go over a few important dates. These are not listed on the calendar. There's a lot more dates that are listed on the calendar. These are things that are just pertinent to Deshler Middle School. The first thing that I want everybody to be aware of is Tuesday, August 6th, so the day before school starts back, our 6th grade and new student orientation is at 9 a.m. in the gym. 7th and 8th grade schedule pickup is from 12:30 to 2. You just come in the front door, you will get your schedule, and then you can go to your first period teacher and purchase your locker. Lockers are $20 this year. 6th graders, when you come to orientation, you can bring your school supplies. I will talk for a few minutes, and then you will get your schedule, and you can go purchase your locker and put your school supplies up. Any new student that's in 7th and 8th grade that came and chose your schedule the other day, you've already heard a lot of the things that I'm going to say at the 6th grade orientation, so you can also come from 12:30 and 2 and get your schedule and buy your lockers. You don't have to come to the orientation at 9 a.m. in the gym. I'd like to encourage everybody to go to the App Store. You can download the Tuscumbia City Schools app. This is going to make a lot of information available to you, from Power School to getting alerts, notifications, and different things that are going on, not only at Deshler Middle School, but also throughout Tuscumbia City Schools. I also encourage everybody to download the Power School Parent Portal app. Students and parents will have access to this. You will be given a username and password at the beginning of the year, and you can utilize this to check your students' grades on a daily basis. It's not like the old days where you had to wait for a progress report or a report card to be sent out. You can get real-time updates on your students' grades being entered. You can get alerts when your students' grades are entered. It's a very handy tool. If for some reason you don't get the sheet with Parent Portal access, or it's not working, if you will come to the front office, we will help you get that set up. And once again, you can access this from the Tuscumbia City Schools app. But in the middle school, we do not print off report cards unless you specifically request. If you call the office and say you would like a paper copy of a report card, we will send it home with your child. But we encourage everybody to use the parent portal. This helps us save paper and money on ink, and it also you don't have to risk your child not bringing home a report card. So it's an easy way for you to know what's going on with your students' grades at all times. All right, so our morning drop-off. Everybody is dropped off at the back by the gym. So you will pull in by the rec center, and our doors are open at 7:15, so I think we open our doors earlier than any other school does in the system. So at 7:15, you can begin dropping your child off, and they will enter throughout the gym. So in order to keep the line from becoming so backed up, when you drop your child off, we encourage you to pull all the way forward like you're going into the lunchroom right here. Pull all the way forward, stop right here. You can let your child out. They can walk through here and enter the gym. We ask that anybody, once you get right here, this is the building, this is our ag shop. There is a storage shed there right now. If you're between that X and that right there, we encourage you to get your child out of the car and have them walk into the gym. If everybody does this, we can unload 10 to 12 cars at one time. The line becomes backed up when parents stop right here in front of the door and we only let one car out at a time. That's when you see lines backed up to the rec center. When everybody pulls all the way forward and everybody's kid begins exiting as soon as the line stopped right here, and we have multiple cars unloading at once, the line does not get backed up. It does not take long. It does not take long to get throughout the line. It's when people insist on stopping right here and letting one child out at a time. I will say this: when it's raining, it's understandable that to stop right here. It's understandable for the kids not to walk through a pouring down rainstorm, and everybody just has to understand that on rainy days that the line may be a little bit longer. We will be understanding as far as giving a few minutes extra to get into class before we start marking tardy. But please help us with this and pulling forward and having your child exit the building if they're in between where these red lines are right here. In the afternoon, we have two different pickup locations. Our 8th graders exit through the back, the cafeteria door. So 8th grade parents, you can pick up in the back parking lot. 7th graders exit through this door in the front. 6th graders exit through this door. Now, when you're pulling up, there's 3 lanes in the front. There's a lane that goes right here by the awning. There's a lane that goes behind the teachers' parking spots, and then there's this middle lane. Do not pull through the middle lane. We want to leave this open. That way, when you pick your child up, you can get in the middle lane and exit the line. Now, we ask all students who are not walking to stay right here underneath the awning. We don't walk down here. There's no supervision. That's where we get cars trying to pull out, and it becomes a hazard. So we do ask your child to wait until you get up by the awning and they can walk across to your car if you're in this line or whatever else, but we just don't have kids walking down the sidewalk getting in cars or getting in cars at the road because it's a safety issue. So please understand you will have to pull through the parking lot right here, but there's 2 separate lines. Once everybody gets used to it, by 3:12, 3:15, we have every car out. So the line may seem long if you're up front, but within 10 to 15 minutes after 3, we have everybody through the line. So just be patient. The first few days are always a learning experience for everybody, but we will get it, and we will get it to where it runs as smoothly as possible. Reminder that breakfast and lunch is free for everybody. If you want to buy extra, if you want to buy extra food, if you want to buy an ice cream, whatever it may be, you got to pay. You have to pay for that. You can add it to your My School Bucks app. Also, a reminder that fast food is not allowed at school. If you're going to bring your lunch, it must be in an unmarked paper bag. You can't show up with a Taco Bell bag or a McDonald's bag or anything like that. That's against federal guidelines. So we can't have that. If you want to bring your lunch, that's fine. Just make sure it's in a brown paper bag that is not marked with any fast food or any other food markings. Our bell schedule is a little bit different this year, so we're moving to a 6-period day, Monday through Thursday. Biggest change here is the start time is at 7:50. So our school starts at 7:50. So if you're not here in your class by 7:50, you are tardy. Still ends at 3. What we've done here is we've taken our short period that we had last year out, and we've added time to each class. Each class has 65 minutes, so your student will get extra time with their core subjects especially, but they will also get extra time with PE and their elective. On Friday, we will still start at 7:50, so nothing changes as far as that. But our classes will be shortened, and in the middle of the day, we'll have our reach period. That's our mentoring period, where students will go to the same teacher for all 3 years, and they will receive character lessons. This teacher will go over their report cards and do different mentoring stuff for our students. So Friday is a little different, but as far as drop off and pick up, nothing changes. Chromebooks, in years past, we haven't done this in a few years, so this is not anything new. We don't issue Chromebooks for students to take home. Each teacher has a class set of Chromebooks. If for any reason you got the flu and you're going to be out all week, or you were to have something to where you're going to be out for a prolonged period of time, we can check out Chromebooks, but on just a day-to-day basis, unless it's going to be a prolonged absence, we don't check out Chromebooks, but each teacher has a classroom set that they will use in their classrooms. Attendance is a huge thing. It's one of the things that our school gets judged on. So I highly encourage you to have your child here. If your child is not at school, they can't learn, and that's the purpose of school. That's why you send them here, is to get an education. Please, please do everything you can to make sure they're here and that they're here on time. If you are absent, it's your responsibility to turn in an excuse within 3 days. You have 10 parent excuses. Once you run out of parent excuses, if it's not a doctor's excuse, it will be an unexcused absence. I would like to encourage everybody to really think about emailing excuses. You can email them to me at sking@tuscumbia.k12.al.us or to our secretary at the R. Hollingsworth email address. Either one of those. What I've found is that a lot of times these excuses don't get turned in. Parents, you write them, you give them to your child, and they forget to turn them in. And after 3 days, there's nothing we can do. We can't enter them in after 3 days. That's state law. So I highly encourage you to email them. That way, if they were to become lost or whatever else, we can always go back and search it. It's time and date stamped. We can go back in and we can justify changing it at that point, but we can't if your student just didn't turn it in, and it'll remain an unexcused absence, which will affect exemptions. And if you get too many unexcused absences, there are consequences for that, and those are listed in the handbook, and I would encourage you to look at them. Our day is divided in periods, so you got to be careful with checkouts and tardies. So after 3 tardies to class, this is on the students. If your student is not getting to class on time, the teacher is going to give them a tardy. After 3 tardies, your student's going to get detention, and then it's going to be Saturday school, and so on and so forth. Very, very important to start setting habits of getting to places on time, and to help honor class time. Things are going to happen. There's going to be times where you're tardy. That's why we don't start punishing till after 3, and we're going to be very lenient the first couple weeks of school while everybody's getting familiar with lockers. But after that, we have to get kids to class on time. You can end up getting detention or Saturday school for excessive tardies. If you check out, if you come up here and you got to check your child out, please bring an excuse or write an excuse. You sign that sign-out sheet. You say that your child has to go to the doctor. The state does not recognize that. We have to have paper excuses on file. I've disagreed with it before. I think if you write out beside it, your child's sick, that should count. But you have to actually write an excuse and say, please excuse my child, they are sick. I have a template, a printout template. If you will ask Ms. Hollingsworth for it, all you have to do is write your child's name in, write why they're checking out. She can give you one of those. But the sheet you sign your child out does not count as an excuse. If you do not bring an excuse, it will be an unexcused absence. If you're checking your child out to go to the dentist, please get them to write an excuse or to give you a doctor's excuse. That way it does not use one of your parent excuses. Just be very, very careful with that. Midterm exam exemptions. We've changed our policy a little bit this year. So exam exemptions are a privilege. They're no way a punishment, no way, it should be, a privilege should be hard to reach. So we've made it a little bit harder. The first thing is you have to have good attendance, all right? Second thing is you got to have good grades. And then we're also looking at, for midterm exams, your ACAP scores from this past spring and your discipline. So if you have 3 or fewer excused absences and an 85 or higher, you are still in consideration for exempt. If you have no unexcused absences, and this is for the semester, this is not for the year, this is from August to December, no unexcused absences, and a 70 to 84, you can exempt. The next thing we're going to look at is your ACAP scores. So if you scored a 3 or 4 in English, that means you are proficient, you are on grade level. Then we're going to say that you are able to exempt English and history because of your English ACAP scores, assuming that you have an 85 and less than 3 absences and a 70 or 84. We're going to look at your math ACAP scores, and if you scored a 3 or 4, meaning you are on grade level, then we're going to say you are eligible to exempt, assuming that you have the grades and the absences in math and English, or math and science. The next thing we're going to look at is discipline. So if you have any ISS or OSS, regardless of what your grades are, regardless of your ACAP scores or any of that, you are not able to exempt. Let me also say this. If you have a 3 or a 4 on the ACAP, that will give you an opportunity to exempt. Also, if you have a 4 in the growth category, that means from one grade to the next how much you grew, because everybody's not going to have the opportunity to score 3 or 4 on the ACAP. That's just not realistic. But everybody can grow from one year to the next, and that's really what we want. So we will allow the people who had a 4 in the growth category to be eligible for exemptions too. So this is for midterms only. So this kind of explains that. For our final exam exemptions, everything's the exact same as far as grades and absences and discipline. What we change is, instead of ACAP scores, since we won't have the current ACAP scores at the end of next year, we use our IXL diagnostic. So our IXL diagnostic, we take it at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year, or the middle of the year, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and then once again in February for the last time. And this lets us know kind of where your child is as far as, are they on grade level, are they growing? It lets us know how they're progressing as far as learning the standards for their grades. So in order to be considered for exemptions from IXL, they either have to score proficient, which is a 3 or 4, just like the ACAP, or they have to grow consistently over the 3 diagnostic tests, because everybody's not going to score 3 or 4 proficient, but everybody can grow, everybody can do better on the test as the year goes forward. Dress code is listed. If you want a full list of it, it's listed in the handbook. You can go and look at it. If a teacher, if an employee decides, or if an employee notices something that's out of the dress code, they will tell your child, and they will be responsible for changing or having you bring something to change. If one of the main things we see is usually shorts not being long enough, we say mid-thigh. If 5 inches above the knee, but we're not going to be nitpicky. If a teacher says to change, they're responsible for changing, and there will be no conversation about that. Drinks and snacks, we ask that you only bring clear water and clear water bottles only. No Cokes, teas, energy drinks. No Stanley cups, no bags of chips, candy, unless a teacher has a special day where they are allowing candy in their class. We don't allow it. What we found is it gets spilled, it causes a mess, we end up with bugs, so we don't allow any of that in the school. Only clear water with the water only. Cell phones, students can bring cell phones to school, but our rule is that they must be turned off and put up by the time they walk in the door, and they cannot be taken out until they leave at 3 o'clock. So when they walk in the mornings, they need to be turned off and put in their backpack, put in their pocket, not visible. When the bell rings to go to first period, they need to put them in their locker, and they do not need to be seen until the end of the day. They are not to be used at all at school. If your child needs to call home, they will need to come to the office and use the phone in the office. We do not use cell phones at any point in time in the school building during the school day. If your child does get caught with their cell phone, here are the consequences for it. Just make sure that you are familiar with these. We do have we have new lockers this year. brand new lockers, they look really good in our hallways. Cell phones must stay in the lockers. Backpacks must remain in the lockers. There's 3 minutes between classes to go to your locker, go to the restroom. That may not sound like a lot, but it is plenty of time to do everything you need to do. And a reminder that locker rental is $20. You can pay this on August 6th when you come to either 6th grade orientation or you come to pick up your schedule that afternoon. Organization-wise, I encourage everybody to really lean towards getting one big Trapper Keeper binder. You can find our school supply list on the school website under the tab for parents. But I encourage everybody to get one of these binders. One should be enough for every class. If you use dividers, that's going to really save space in your lockers. That would also save you from having to go to your locker every period. These lockers are 3 high. They're not much smaller than what they were last year because they're a little bit taller overall. But if you have a bunch of stuff, your locker's going to become junked up, and it's going to be really difficult to keep it clean. That is all I have for this. If there's any questions or anything that I can do for you before August 6th, don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you.